Alrighty. I'm gonna wait for just a second and kind of let the tweet go out. I'm just gonna kind of get my environment ready here. Made a new code sandbox, so that's always a good thing. Hey, what's up, Adam? Welcome. Glad to have you. Yesterday was fun. Yesterday was way fun. Okay, let's see. I think I got everything I need here. Wish there was a shortcut for Zen mode. It's really easy to get out of it. Not quite easy to get into it. Adam, did you make anything? Did you make anything else using hooks yesterday? Did you continue to play with it? That context thing you showed me yesterday was dope. Yeah, you're telling me. So I last night I spent let's see, what is it? Podcast.com. Yeah, I'm really excited. I hope I have the energy to do it. So last night I was up until 5 in the morning editing this show. I literally just I went to sleep at like 5 something. I got like a little bit less than 4 hours of sleep maybe. And then I woke up and I was like, "Oh shit, I got to do a stream. I said I was going to do one every day this week." And anyway, and now we're here. That was like 10 minutes ago. Anyway, all that said, this is such a fun episode of React Podcast. I definitely recommend you listen to it if you're interested in this. I mean, if you're here, you should listen to this podcast because it's all about React hooks and all of the things that are happening like now, all of the things that they're working on, all of the like ideas, just all of the things that like I had questions about. They all talk about kind of where the origin was and everything. It's really awesome. Anyway, yeah, so that's it. I got no sleep last night because of this episode. So today might be a little bit short because my head is just not right and my fingers are kind of achy. So anyway. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's I mean, it's a little bit, kind of like a recap of like what they were talking about, but there's some nuggets in there about like kind of where the future is with React Fusion and ahead of time pre-compilation and all that kind of stuff. So it's real cool. And it's just kind of fun to like sit down with them and talk about the tools they're making or hear about the tools that they're making. So I'm going to open up the docs for this one. And kind of go right in. So today we're talking about UseContext. And UseContext is fairly simple, but I just want to kind of bump around the edges a little bit. I might use this as an excuse to check out the new context APIs that were released, depending on how our time goes. I don't suspect that we'll have a lot of like really big revelations about UseContext. So maybe we'll go that direction. Maybe I'll just take a nap. We'll see. So let's go. So there's the API reference, and UseContext is the last of these basic hooks. Actually, realized I reset my screen last night for working, and it might not be ideal for coding, or live streaming. So let's see if that works. I guess just let me know if that didn't fully break everything and you can't see me anymore. So that's the last. This is the last of the basic hooks. Now, my understanding is that basic just means that these are going to be your bread and butter hooks. These are the ones that replace, or not replace, but they give you the capabilities that you had with class components before into function components. Now, that is also true of these, but these are more of a specialization, either around the type of state or really making certain things very performant, which I don't think is really a word, but whatever. Making them performance oriented, making them faster, or kind of things that we have are very like strong specializations of UseEffect that opt into the scheduling. So kind of prioritized or deprioritized in the render cycle. Now, I don't know a lot about these yet, but that's my understanding. That's the that's how I know, like use mutation effect and use layout are different than use effect. Anyway, we'll dive into that when we get to those. But that's kind of the idea. This is the last one that actually provides you a capability. Is like provides you a baseline case of capability in a functional component. So let's take a look at it. So we did use state, use effect on Monday and Tuesday, and today's Wednesday. We're doing use context. So I mean, even the docs are incredibly simple. So this will be a little bit more about setting this up than anything else. So use context. We just create a variable with the context we want, and then we, or with the name that we want to give it, and we say use context, and we actually pass it a context. Now we can define that in place. We can import it from another part of our project. We can do whatever we need. So let's see, accepts a context object, the value returned from react.createContext, and returns the current context value as given by the nearest context provider for the given context. So that's where we'll explore today, is the nearest context provider, kind of setting up multiple context providers and then just kind of exploring. Adam made an awesome demo, or I think yesterday. And do you mind sending me a link to that again? That was cool. I'm almost positive it was you. If not, I apologize because I only got 4 hours of sleep last night. So if not, sorry about that. But it's attributed to you in my mind. So we're stacking context. He used context to kind of retain previous values of the document title. And so we could render, change that document title, and then change back once that component got removed from the component tree. Oh, awesome. Cool. Yep, just pasted that in. Let me get that. Which I thought was really nifty. So I thought I'd show it now. And then we might even use this as some of our example today, because it's super cool. So yeah, so he's pulling in use state, use effects, use context. This is the, let's see. Yeah, this is the little component that changes that renders the name profile, and then use document title. He sends it the thing. And, oh, printer's going. That means someone's going to be in here any second. All right. Okay. Yes. So yeah. So then, So then there's use effect, which, let's see, takes the default title off of context, this app context that was created here, puts the title in there, restores the default title, and then changes on any title changes. And so you can see we have, so here's a context provider. This has the default title provided here in our app. And then let's see, when you, oh, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to see it. Here we go. Okay, so you saw it was React app at first. We toggled this off. It goes back to my app, and then turn it back on, and goes back to Adam's profile. So that was pretty cool, and that's kind of a pretty good demonstration of context used with the other things. So we might come back to that. So that is really cool. Let's just, I guess right now, build up a context and use that. Some of the most common examples, printer, again, this was such a terrible time to do this. Okay, so I have a microsite on context, so I might be pulling examples from there. Just because it's where I'm most comfortable with. So in context, there are 3 pieces of context always. There's going to be your context creator. So you're going to create context, and this in here can be whatever you want. And this is the way that I always think about it. So every time I think about context, I think about this shit example. So basically, yeah, so you create a context and you give it a default value. In this case, I'm giving it the default value of shit. And I'm calling it expletive context. So that's the name for my context. I can export that from a module. I can build it right in place. I can do that wherever I need. But this is the transportable nugget of that, this expletive context. Now, inside the context, there is a consumer. Okay, and we can use this using the traditional example, or the example that was added in 16.3, I think it is that we could use a create a component and use the consumer with a render prop. So it's going to pass in the word. We'll take that and display whatever it is that we want to display. Now, the kind of React team has not been super secretive about not loving render props, even though it's though admittedly it's a great way to compose some of these things using just the component model. But the goal has always been, as far as I understand, is to provide this because it's a pattern that people are familiar with. But then also provide a hooks version for functions and then a class version. So moving on, there's also a provider in here. So I have this other component called Grandma's House, and it provides a value for context poop, and it just kind of renders its children. So when we have a visit to Grandma's house, so this is a visit to Grandma's house component. And when the context is Grandma's house, the contextual exclamation is going to use Grandma's house value and say, oh poop, instead of oh shit, which I would say by default. So this is, that's how I remember that stuff. So let's see. So let's go about creating a context. Let's actually recreate this example with context. I gotta find my thing and close that one. Whoop. All right, I'm just gonna clean some of these up. Okay, so I need to throw in the app. Throw all this in the app to make it work. So visit to Grandma's house. Okay, cool. Yep, it says oh poop. Look at that. Let me make this bigger. Okay, cool. Oh poop. Okay, again, we kind of walked through all that code. I'm gonna rework this using hooks. So first, we're gonna take the UseContext hook. off of the React object, and then kind of change the places that we're using context. So let's see, that would really just be this contextual exclamation if I am seeing that right. Okay, cool. So I need to change this to a block because we're going to be using stuff using that space. Now, I hate doing this refactoring, so I never write components like this anymore. I always use function just because I always go for this terseness, and then I always need the block for some reason. Particularly now, that's going to become more and more true, that I'll need that block. So I really just use the function keyword all the time. Now it doesn't differ dramatically from the from this version, so you could do that too if you feel better with this version. For some reason, I almost never see this with a block very commonly. So same thing though. So I'll just leave it. I'll leave it this time. Let's see. So use context, and we are going to, or sorry, let whatever we want to call it. Word, actually, no, we know that. Yeah, so it's going to give us the value directly. So this will just be word of expletive context. Okay, so we're using this, we're using context and giving it our full context, which includes the provider and consumer, and we're just taking the word out of that. This is so nice. In which case we can get rid of this, I think get rid of this, and it still works. That's amazing. That's a lot less code, and it is so much clearer. I really like this hooks API in context. That's great. Man, oh man. I love it. Okay, cool. So that is awesome. Now, I don't think any of the rest of this changes dramatically because this is just, we still need a context provider. Okay, so that's still going to happen. But yeah. Okay, cool. That's looking good. So really the only thing is just this one that was consuming, the one that uses the consumer. Anything that uses the consumer is now going to be able to use context instead of the render prop consumer. And that is a beautiful thing. This is so much better. And we remove all of the non-rendering components out of that hierarchy, which is amazing. Okay, cool. Now I want to try maybe doing multiple contexts. So let's create another context. We'll call this one theme. And this one's going to have an object inside of it. And the text color is going to be a word that I never spell right, but I love it. Fuchsia. Actually, let's be explicit. Okay, so we have a new theme context. We've used React Create Context for that, and we are giving it an object with just a couple color values. Let's do like text background color. Is lime a color? This is gonna be so ugly. Okay, so we can do this again. So let theme equals use context of theme context, and yeah, so if I put this in the style, so color, actually, yeah, color equals text theme dot text color, and that didn't work. We'll see. And background color equals text background color. It's very possible that I just misspelled fuchsia. No, this isn't working at all. All right, cool. Let's figure out why. So create context. We're giving an object. This is definitely not spelled right. Fuchsia. Oh. Fuchsia. Oh, there we go. There we go. And then I might not be able to do this on a non-display block element. Background. Lime might not be a color. Let's just make it pink. This is gonna look terrible. All right. That's less important. We got it working. Oh, duh. Theme. Whew. Man. Real tired. Real tired. Okay, cool. Ooh. That's special. That is real special. I love this color. What is it? How do I do it? Coffee. I need some of that right now. That's sweet, sweet coffee. More papers printed. All right. So, yeah. So that is UseContext. It's pretty simple. There's not a lot that we need to do. So let's do this. Let's create a unquote the var. Oh yeah. Sorry. Yep. Sorry, there's a little bit of a lag, but yes, got it. Thank you, Keith. And good to see you. Welcome. Oh my gosh, my brain is so fried. So thank you for bearing with me this morning. So one thing I want to do is I want to I guess stack some contexts. So we have this like expletive context and we say like, oh poop, but we can do more. We could just kind of add another, oh no. Apparently there's a keystroke around the letter P that you can do to reset the page. How did it work without a provider? Luca, I'm not totally sure with the question. How did this work without a provider? Because I'm just consuming this, but I'm not applying a provider anywhere. I see what you're asking. Yes. Yeah. So UseContext has a default, and that I'm providing that default here. So if I delete this default, it should all go away. So I'm providing the default, but where I create a provider, so I'll just use this. So we have a theme context. If Grandma's house wants to use different colors, I could throw those in here. Oop. Oop. Change that to theme. I did something wrong. Okay, oop, there we go. So now I'm providing a context, and that went away. Oop. I suspect because I provided it, I accidentally just copy and pasted the other values. So let's give it some new values. So text color is going to be blue. Text background color. Oh my gosh, I hate blue and red together. It looks so terrible. Let's do maybe like a more like Halloween-y themed. Oh, it's so gross. Keith, are you like just clawing your eyes out like right now? So yeah, so that's why that that worked. So the let's see, the theme context doesn't have a provider. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so where there is no so this object or this value that you pass in, whether it be just a string or an object, is going to be your default value. So where there is no provider, it's basically acts as like an implicit provider, so that you can always have these fallback values, just in case. So this is like kind of like the default theme, and then we have this like Halloween-y type theme that we put at Grandma's house. So yeah, so that's what we got right now. Let's see. So we got two themes, we got two providers at this point. Let's see. So we've stacked that. Now I also wanted to show you that order matters. So again, we just have this very, simple. And honestly, so I'm gonna say something for a second. Honestly, I think that it's so funny that theme is something that is used as an example like all the time in the docs, because I think that this is like a really terrible way to actually like. I wouldn't theme anything like this when CSS custom properties are a thing. Just saying. This seems terrible. Way terrible. CSS custom properties are amazing. We use them and I love them. So that's just a tangent. I just feel like that's a terrible example of the whole like theme thing. One of those things that like demos well, but then in practice is just a terrible idea you'd never want to do. So we have expletive context, we have theme context. Great. We can change this to pumpkin. Oh, pumpkin. Now we can also stack these contexts. So this might get a little bit weird. So wait, let's see. We're at Grandma's house. We can insert new contexts at any point in the tree. So like, let's say that I didn't want to do that. Oh poop. But we're at Grandma's house, but because it's Halloween time. Here, I'm gonna actually move all of this. So we're at Grandma's house. But it's Halloween time. So we're going to insert this theme. If I can do that. Let's see. Unexpected. Okay, so it's complaining about my JSX. I did something wrong in JSX land. Undo. Back out, back out, back out. Okay. Put my theme context down. Okay, cool. Now that works. Oh, I keep hitting save and having to scroll down. I need to figure out how to fix that. Okay, get the end of my thing there. Okay, so I'm inserting now this visit to Grandma's house. I'm inserting a provider for that Halloween context. Now, this is not what Grandma's house usually looks like. Usually it looks like that. It looks like our default, right? But I'm inserting this context here, which is awesome. Now it means that I can also insert an expletive context. So even though typically we say, oh, poop at Grandma's house, I can insert an additional context because it's Halloween. And oh, man, I don't know why I keep getting the order of these wrong. Now I can do a festive one, and we'll call this oh pumpkin, which we had before, but I can't type this time. Okay, cool. So yeah, so that's what we got. I'm gonna move this mic down a little bit. Okay, so you can kind of see what's happening. So this is we've encapsulated oh poop into Grandma's house, but now we can do these other themes. So we can, why don't I, just for fun, let me pull these out. It's kind of getting a mess in here, but context always feels like a mess to me anyway, just based on the nesting. So we'll call this Halloween. Also, happy Halloween, everyone. Happy Halloween. So we'll take our props and we will take this and we're going to move that up. Return it. Oh, it gets real messy there for a second. And we'll spit out props.children and save that. And then we got to add it back in, but got more printed. It's a fun morning here in my office. So on this one, we can kind of encapsulate that in from the outside. No, we won't be able to. We'd have to insert it. It's kind of a good question is, yeah, I'd have to compose these differently than I have. Now, so this example is kind of lazy because I do everything in line. So in reality, I'd want to take props here, props.children. Actually, I can do this. Props. Let me take that out. Okay, so then I'm going to insert it here. So this is where I would typically do this type of composition. Close visit to grandma's house. Oop, too much going on. Okay, cool. So I would typically do this more in my app, right? Because grandma's house doesn't need to have the expletive in there. There's going to be all kinds of other things that I'm going to be put in this visit to grandma's house. So that's a terse example, but kind of like a misleading one because they're fixed together. So now in this case, in my application where this logic would live, now I can insert a Halloween context where it makes sense. Halloween context. Halloween context is, not context. It's just the Halloween component. Cool. There we go. So that that works pretty well. So we're on a visit to grandma's house, Halloween, and we get this contextual exclamation which is contextual on Halloween and on grandma's house. So cool. So that is, let's see, we covered UseContext. We covered this theming thing. I showed you this, what is it? This code sandbox. It's in the chat. If you want to click on that and explore it. This is Adam's context example from yesterday, where he was able to retain the default title, which is very cool. You should definitely look at that because that is a fun one and it incorporates what we were doing yesterday. Let's see what else there is. I would like to, before we end, make one of these a class component, just for the sake of example, because again, React just put 16.6 out, which has a static context type consumer for class components. So let's explore that. What time is it? 9:34? Yeah, we're probably going to get out early today. Good. You can use the rest of the time and listen to React podcast. and hear there's this little funny bit in the very beginning where the core team is singing, and I love it. I didn't even ask for permission. I just put it in, and yeah, we'll see how that goes for me. I might not be invited to the next conference. So this is pretty easy. I'm just hearing me blabber this morning. So you just use static context type equals my context. Okay, cool. So then that puts that on this dot context. I gotcha. Okay, cool. So this context type is a very special word. We have to use that precisely. It can be whatever. Now, something to know about this is that this is this is one context per component. Now, the other model that we just saw with the render props, you can compose in like multiple consumers. This one you can't. This is one context per component. So choose wisely. I don't know if that'll change at some point or if that's the plan, that like basically this is the one and you use the render prop for the other one. For more, who knows? I cannot say. I just do what I'm told. So let's so this becomes a bad example for us because we're actually able to, in these functional components, do something that we can't do in the class components, which is use multiple use context via hook. So that's awesome. Another reason that hooks are amazing. Let's see. So I guess let's make another like a class component that we can stick in the same context and have it know. I guess we'll just have it know about grandma's house only, since it can just be one. What should this component do? Call this like a want candy. Oh man. Yeah. So function want candy. And then this is gonna say, oh no, wait, sorry. We want to do this as a class. Class want candy extends React component. Oh. I'm gonna have render in here, and let's see, what's the default message gonna be? Man, so much typing with these classes. Ugh. What's like a young candy? Oh, Reese's. I don't think that's actually more younger than what I'm gonna put for grandma. Okay, cool. One Reese's. Yeah. Okay, cool. I don't think I spelled that, but don't care. So let's see. Now, what I want to do is have so I'm going to make a candy context that will look like let candy context equal create context. And I'm going to put Reese's in here. Now I'm going to do this dot context, and we'll do static context. Oop, nope, did that wrong. Lowercase context, uppercase type equals candy context. Create context is not defined. Okay, cool. So I'm creating a candy context, giving it a default value of Reese's. So that's the fallback value. So I don't need to provide a provider to get that value. And then we have a class component. It's using static context type equals candy context, which allows me to get that off of context. Very cool. Now it is possible. I think there is if you really wanted to get multiple contexts in here, I think there's just something called React adapt. I'm not saying this is, sorry, Michael Scott. redapt. Now, I'm not saying this is a great idea for what we need to do. Man, I can't find it. I think it's called React. Oh, adopt maybe? React adopt. Render props everywhere. I think what this allows you to do is to you can like adopt, you can like compose, you can compose different contexts together, I believe. Thank you. Yep, adopt. It took me a second there. You can compose different contexts together. So there's an example of theme context and user context, and then it's just creating this single context with the consumers of both of those. It's possible, I don't know, I can't say for sure, that you could use that to get around the restriction of one context per component. I'll leave that as an exercise to you. Report back, let me know what you found, if that interests you. For me, I think as long as I have hooks, I'm just going to keep trying to use hooks, because this is just unbelievably nice. Okay, gotcha. Adam's saying it combines multiple render children props based components together. I see. So not the full contexts. So looks like that wouldn't work. So I guess just use hooks, because it seems like they are a winner here if you need multiple contexts. So let's see. So that's good. And then what we're gonna do is that grandma's house. So let's see. Visit to grandma's house. So I'm gonna do something here. I'm gonna break this back out again. Oop. Okay, and then I'm going to compose in a want candy. Okay, I feel like my brain is broken at this point. Oh, that's right. Okay. So wow. I need to do this here. So here we're going to do the candy context. What is it? Werther's? Werther's original. Yeah, Werther's. Werther's original. Do you want a Werther's original? Unexpected token. I did something wrong. I always do. Looks like it's not here though. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I totally screwed up grandma's. All right, screwed up that context down there. Let's see. Put this back. Whew. I've seen all the nasty code motion this morning. Now this is interesting. That didn't work. So we're going to dive into why. Oh, because I deleted it. I'm so tired. I haven't had coffee yet either. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Want a Werther's original. There we go. So grandma's house now has providers for the expletive context and the CandyContext. So when we go to Grandma's house on Halloween, we can, she'll say, "Oh, pumpkin," and say, "Want a word that's original." Anyway, so that's a bunch of stuff with context. My biggest takeaway today is that, sorry, I'm moving around a lot, is that this is cool that you can do this. The one context is fairly limiting. So I'm honestly, I'm thinking that, I don't know, unless I'm missing something and we can do more with this, I'm having a hard time thinking of a place in my apps that I would need only one context. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm thinking in a lot of cases, and also I would be really hesitant to limit myself if I knew that there were options where I could use more contexts gracefully in the future if they were provided to me. So this is questionable for me. I mean, I think it's great. I think that this functionality needed to exist, and it's great that you can now get these values off of context. However, I imagine that I will be using this very infrequently because the other models allow me to kind of gracefully go into multiple contexts, which has absolutely happened. It's kind of the same reason, that I was saying that I don't really write components with that let style anymore. Because while it looks terse, I almost always end up having to do more work in it. And especially now that we have hooks, and that's how I'll opt into kind of augmentation. That is going to be, I can't imagine ever using this let syntax because I want things to be easy to change. I want to be able to opt into change really quickly without having, as you saw, I'm not very great at code motion. Sometimes I miss things. It's like I'll do something and then it's an error and it takes me a couple minutes to get back on track. So the less code motion, the better for me. And I feel like that's going to be really the biggest value for this UseContext hook, is that it really reduces the code motion to barely anything. You just opt into the hook by saying UseContext, and then you use the values, and it's not like a fancy context thing that you're getting. You're just using those values where you get them. So those are my thoughts after this 45 minutes with context, looking at both the UseContext API and also this static context type API. So yeah, that's what I got. Obviously I have a little bit of work ahead of me. I'm going to need to update this document with some of the new context options. But yeah, if you have questions about context, I'll probably be summarizing what we learned today into this document. And yeah, so this was fun. I guess before we go, are there any questions that you want me to answer before we're done, or attempt to answer? I'll give it a couple of minutes. I'm just going to kind of look over this. And while I'm thinking about it, this is a good practice. React. Oh, looks like I already got some issues on here. Okay, so we're going to create a new issue. React.js.org. Context. No, that's legacy. Okay, come on. I guess I found it in the blog. Maybe it's not documented there yet. Static context. Okay, so let's see. So add static context type example for classes. That example lives here. And then we'll go to hooks. And we will go to the API reference. We'll go to UseContext. Create a new issue. Add hooks UseContext example. That lives here. Add summary of why UseContext is preferable. Limited code motion, multiple contexts, static, what is it? Static context type. Over render prop. Okay, cool. Made myself a couple issues, so don't forget. So that's great. Let's see. So Eric asks, can I use hooks in my project? Will the API change? I want to start using hooks in my project. Right now, so the official stance is that right now they're unstable. I'm sure that it says that right at the top of the document. Yeah, so this is an open RFC, they're calling it a discussion. This is an alpha version. So it is best to assume that they are unstable. I know that they're very well thought out. However, I was able to, or I was privy to see some of these hooks before they got announced. And I mean, even up to the day, like certain names were changing. So I guess it depends on your tolerance for risk. Obviously, it is important to kind of explore these things and know. Like UseContext, I imagine, is going to be a safe one. I cannot imagine that name is going to change. It's possible that you might get additional arguments past that, like, you know, they might stack them in an array like they do with useState. It seems incredibly unlikely that UseContext is going to change. And I imagine that one's going to be incredibly safe to use. I would say useState is probably going to be a safer one too. UseEffect seems to be the one that people have the most objection to. So that one seems the most risky in my mind. I mean, I guess the official answer is that you can't assume that they're going to stay the same. But I think that UseContext is going to be a pretty safe one personally. Don't come after me if that doesn't seem to be true. But I think that's going to be the safest one to use. Yeah, I think that's it. Cool. So yeah, I made my issues and I don't see any questions. That's a great question, Eric. I mean, it's really up to your tolerance and kind of how much work you're willing to put in now, and you know, at the risk that it might change and you have to change it back or change it to something else later. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. So again, if you want to see more videos like this, I'm going to try maybe for the month of October to do them like pretty regularly, like once a day. I was thinking that every day. They'll probably be shorter though. Every day, maybe do like build a custom hook, or maybe build a library of custom hooks, together. We can kind of talk out the process of each of those things. I don't know. So anyway, subscribe, hit me up on Twitter, at Chantastic. If you're interested in that, you want to see more of these videos, tell me what you'd like to see. I think tomorrow I might brave it and I might do use reducer. Admittedly, I don't know anything about reducers, but it might be a short one and we'll just show you kind of like how it works. I'll like copy and paste a stoplight example or something. And then the rest of these, I think these are so likely to change. I might just go real quick into use memo, use callback, and use ref. I think these are pretty likely to change. Anyway, That's it. Yeah. So thanks for watching. Again, hit me up if you have any questions. Thanks for hanging with me in the chat and giving me good feedback and help me fix some of those problems. I look forward to doing this again tomorrow. Hopefully I'll see you then. Have a great Halloween, actually. Yeah. Enjoy your Halloween if you celebrate. Just enjoy Wednesday if you don't. All right. See you later.